The next skill we want to work on in our fractions unit is talking about equivalence. Equivalence, this word is simply meaning equal. That's the word that jumps out at me when I read the word equivalence, is equal. We're looking for equal fractions. Well, now how do we do that? If we're looking for fractions that equal each other, let's take a look at this triangle. I love this triangle for fractions because it works so well. Okay, so if we want something to equal itself, well, we have any number itself in 1. We can do 2 operations to do that. Any number times itself, or times 1, any number times 1 equals itself. It works all the time. Any number multiplied by 1. 12 times 1, still 12. 37,000 times 1, still itself. Okay. And it also works with division as well. So, any number multiplying or dividing by 1 still equals itself. Now, how do we relate this to fractions? Let's take a fraction, 4/5. We want to times that by 1. Yeah, 4/5 times 1 equals 4/5. Thanks for stating the obvious, right, Mr. Goff? Well, think, what fractions equal 1 whole? Fractions are fancy division problems. Any number divided by itself, this works this way too. Any number times or divided by itself equals 1. So let's take any number, 3, for instance. Any number divided by itself equals 1. So we take 3, okay, 3 divided by itself, this equals 1 whole. 3/3. 3 divided by 3. I have 3 fingers. I put them in 3 different groups. I have 1 finger in each group. Okay. So, I want to multiply by 3/3. And 4 times 3 equals 12. This is, by the way, how to multiply fractions. Multiply straight across. Simple, I know, right? Okay. So, 4 times 3 equals 12. 5 times 3 equals 15. If I multiply the numerator and the denominator by the exact same thing, I will get an equivalent fraction every time. Okay? So how about if I multiplied it by 2/2? Does that equal 1? Yes. So 4 times 2 equals 8. 5 times 2 equals 10. So 4/5, 12/15, and 8/10 all equal the same amount. I want to show you this with the next one. Let's pick, for instance, 1/2. Okay, so 1/2. I want to find what's equivalent to 1/2. Let's times it by 2/2, because this equals 1 whole. And so I would get 2, 4, because I multiply straight across. 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, now let's multiply it by 4/4. 4/4. So 1/2, which is 1/2 times 4/4. 4/4 equals 4/8. So, watch this. Okay. 1/2 is colored in. Well, I'm saying that 1/2 equals 2/4. Let's just take this box and make it into fourths. Is the shaded portion still the exact same amount? Yes, it's still half. It's still the exact same. Now, it equals 4/8. So let me just take this same amount and make it into 8s. Is still the exact same amount shaded? Yes, half is still shaded. I'm just looking at that box a little differently. That's what we're talking about with equivalent fractions. They still equal the same amount. They still equal this half. I'm just dividing it by a different number in this picture so that I can see, 1/2, sure, but what if I had 4 of them? Well, 2 4s. What if I had 8 pieces? 4 8s. Okay? And that's a basic on equivalence. It works the same way with division, except we start with the bigger number. So let's just choose 30/40. Okay? We can multiply, but we can also divide by 1, because any number divided by 1 equals itself. The only trick here is we have to choose a number that goes into both of those. So let's just choose 5, because we know 5 goes into any number that ends in 0. So I'm going to divide by 5, each of those. We divide straight across in this instance too. So 30 divided by 5 is 6. 40 divided by 5 is 8. Okay. So finding equivalence is the same as multiplying or dividing any fraction by 1 whole.